you can probably experience it as if Mystic Romantic wants to turn the Gothic horror romantic upside down.
What is upside down here then?
The Mystic Romantic instead looks at herbal healers, homeopaths with natural medicine, and other knowledgeable ones, as the good and the smart people. The square organized collective row system means slavery. And the thick healthy primeval backwoods with meadows have an ecosystem that fixes itself, and has a well-grown wildlife. The nature can be a bit meandering at times, mysterious and strange formations where some are circles and hypnotic spiral shapes in the nature, that can be naturally made, or made of intelligent life, for an unknown purpose. That is inner tranquility and meditations. The traditional Christianity has lost its power over the people who are in focus, and Christianity belongs to the past. The mystery romantic instead uses the esoteric as logic, which is also crucial to science. And every individual is unique where no one is like the other. The nature has several irresistible pure primitive powers that one can learn to use, when the mystic romantic focuses instead on warm joy and to build new buildings, renovating what is broken. It is a sense of the old where the romantic age with labyrinthic characteristics, as large Gothic buildings in white pastel and sand, that is partly hidden by flowering greenery, with mysterious and happy inhabitants, who are constructive and positive. Here is the supranational mystery. The mystery here is an interesting, exciting and unexplored mysterious feeling, with adventure, exoticism, and often have a warm welcoming atmosphere, and sometimes a little dark creepiness. If something does not bring a feeling, it does not convey any message at all. And one can dream of past lives, dream of discussing with dead relatives, and dream of things that will happen. When the esoteric worldview is the wisdom with reason, and the higher order, higher procedure. Anyone who does not understand and does not follow the esoteric laws, is stupid. Anyone who does not follow the mystic romantic dress code / fashion style, is ugly. The traditional formal clothes is not the finest where you are forced into a certain liking thoughts. More about the dress code can be found in the inner section. According to the esoteric, there is an astral world, similar to a fairy tale world, and how you get it, you mutate everything, so flowers, fungi and small animals grow big like chairs and tables. You add fairy tale beings. Among flowers you scatter smashed things that glitter like silver, and many things like mushrooms needs to be luminous. The boundary between fantasy and reality is blurred, by only having real things like the esoteric worldview with esoteric abilities like telekinesis, being able to see soul spirits, teleportation, mind reading, etc., instead of fantasy in the fictional part, and prefer real people instead of cartoons, if possible. And things from the fictional part of the mystery romantic exist and can occur in the reality.
I'm starting to see a world of logic. Mystic romantic music mainly moves within a kind of pop rock which is entirely of classical instruments. A happy heavy metal, of distortion violin, distortion viola, and distortion contrabass, with a structure after Metallica and Rammstein. Several collected distortion instruments with classical instruments. A kind of nature industrial music that is completely without mechanical synth sounds, and is impossible to identify what it kind of instrument, and refers to a matter that holds all the realities together. Some dark ambient is okay. The same djembe-inspired beat occurs in all these styles, which rarely changes speed. Several of the sampled sounds come from nature and animal sounds, for example, roaring lion fit in with heavy metal, and bird sounds with pan flutes. The mystic romantic is also open to other suggestions. There is music that is not made within the mystery romantic, which fits into the mystery romantic. It is usually said that, if music is not in a hurry to convey its message, then it is emotional, and it is the feeling that is most relevant to convey. If it has a relevant feeling to convey, then it has something to convey, instead of a dry hurry, so that the feeling disappears. When it's a mysterious feeling, it is a cozy mystery. In the mystic romantic it is not allowed to be destructively negative and pessimistic. The mystic romantic itself does not stand for the destructive, and that only exists outside of the mystic romantic.
There are many more culture norms than just one, both in the same country and in parts of the world. Some norms say that young people are counted as children, other cultural norms mean that the same bunch of young people are adults enough to be allowed to join, to be able to participate a lot. Therefore, culture clashes can be formed, and people no longer know what they count as anymore. It is thanks to cultural norms that people think they should act in some way, both good and bad. Now it is time to erase all cultural norms and be individual. It is especially that is bad and visible about culture norms that must be erased. That's why old culture norms are counted as destructive, bad, and people who can't let go of the old culture norms count as retarded, unwise.
Hard law nor was created to smooth out differences, norms, and got its name in August 2008, so you could classify things as it better. Between 2006 and 2009, you started to think about a more philosophical part of the mystic romantic. Luxury fine clothing was created in a small group to the little group, and was limited to fit the small group. It is an old norm, when the present has completely different values for what is fine luxury clothing. The old meaning of what is considered fine is no longer synonymous with good looking. Mystic romantic has only one kind of class, neither low nor high. But when anime became available in mid-2009, there was sometimes a slight influence of the romantic era in some anime. And when the anime came in mid-2009, it came with their nice anime Nico girls. Nice, because outside of the anime world, even kitty cat girls were survivors if they could use martial arts and use weapons.
Anime Nico Girl is the anime character. Kitty Cat Lady. A borderline furry is a real person who goes play, that nobody know if the person exists. People in the furry culture want to be anthropomorphic beings. A furry-related borderline furry is a real person who goes play, and want to be an animal. They think they are born in the wrong species. And a cat lady is a woman who have many cats. The kitty cat lady and the anime Nico girl are a little bit similar. The biggest thing kitty cat ladies and anime Nico girls have in common is, when studying real animals you can clearly see that animals are very smart, that if they had only been able to speak right and count math, they would not have been dumber than humans. So a kitty cat lady does not lose the multiplication table and other equations, nor does understandings. They do not escape that. Of course, animals have other senses that are better than humans, just like with species like elves, vampires, and werewolves, better eyesight, better sense of smell, etc. Either you are it or not, and there are only 100% or 0%, but you cannot use a spell to make it disappear or trash it away. So being a Nico lady is like an extra fancy gold ticket. Better ladies have cat ears and kitty cat ladies are extra fancy. You also get a bit of a special fashion taste. Kitty cat dudes do not become feminine to become neckos like ladies do. Cats are cuddly and not necessarily feminine. So where is the Casanova kitty cat dudes among the ladies? It is common for animals to like being playful, and there is a mental difference between a cat and another animal, such as, cats are often very cuddly. Otherwise, you make no major difference between whether the person is a fox, wolf or a cat. But you are not in any way a nun or a monk. Nor does you live a dirty life either. But what sets kitty cat ladies and anime eco girls apart, is that Japanese people are not the same people as Europeans. They have two completely different cultures. Japan's anime mirrors children and adolescents, Europe mirrors adolescents and adults.
One day you realize, you are not in the timeline you are used to be in, a timeline where the Metal Gothic era has never taken place, or much earlier. Everyone else, and I meant everyone, looked questioningly, as if they didn't know what metal and Gothic was. It means a move between timelines, so there must be several timelines. Had the heavy metal and Gothic started in the 80s or never started, it would have been extinct at the 2000s. And then, the mystic romantic could never have existed. But it exists.
When you have been filled yourself with spiritual energy for a very long time, you notice that your surroundings are not as you have thought. That you belong to a color TV, and the whole environment was a black and white TV, where everyone else was completely colorless, even the skin was colorless, and acted like robots, completely without own will. That it is complete lack of empathy, is too melancholy to understand humor, and do not like that others can have fun. Ordinary people think drunk is fun, and is never within the turns. Knows nothing and asks nothing. Have completely lost their creative thinking, their curiosity, their life spark, and destroys its own surroundings. Is driven by its ego, greed, and fears, like primitive driving forces. When the philosophy is lacking of group thinking, and proceeds from the ego, only looking for itself. That everything else exists, just for the taking. You are surrounded by idiots, who didn't even take care of their own interests. The solution is the mystic romantic, the better alternative, where principles like Zen can seems like inner peace, the slow wane of the embossed, preconceived notions and the work of receiving the moment as it is. Then reincarnation became a norm that everyone took for granted, a logic. You must therefore base your logic on the esoteric universal laws such as gravity, karma law, equal attraction, reincarnation, etc. Anything that lacked of this is therefore outdated. Traditional Christianity lacked this, and therefore became outdated. You must therefore erase all Christian values. How stupid isn't the Christianity who thinks that everything that is mutated with a human is a demon? Then their angels are bird demons. They even think extraterrestrial are demons. It is much more common with spiritual development in the Eastern world, but Eastern philosophy does not count in the Western world, which has a framework for what is considered standard for a human being. It is very clear that it is something that they do not want the broad Western mass to take seriously, and is the answer to all the neuroticism and trouble which plagued the Western world.
You are meant to stand out as much as you can, without fall into the extreme category. Let's say that you are an alien or a multiverse traveler who just happened to visit and are bad at blending in. Instead of they believing you are one of them who is as stupid as they are, you do not want to blend in and never need to. Your way of thinking is more important than theirs more primitive interests. They did not understand that there are people who think differently. You take it positive if several others also stand out in their desired way. Because everyone else looks like garbage bags. If you are an alien or a multiverse traveler, you do not want others to have an incorrect idea of who you are. But they are too stupid to understand any communications at all, so you communicate your opinions with dress codes instead, so they can understand that you are not from around, and you are not as stupid as they are. But there is a risk that you may be misinterpreted, and you do not want that. There were never thoughts of people in the 2000s and 2005s, that the guys would be gay if they stuck out. They were instead focused on belonging. How else would you have a group of goths, or a group of techno, a group of greasers, or a group of matrix etc.? You were focused on belonging. There are no gay colors in the mystic romantic, but you do not want to look feminine if you are a dude.
It can occur with both sex that there is a connection with cats, like a Nico person have, and garments as shirts or corsets of giant flower petals, but there is no homosexuality in the mystic romantic.
If you removed all the laws and regulations altogether, everyone else would start running around like dizzy chickens, because everyone trusts someone else to take care of it. What would happen is that morality, justice, etc. would set in motion when you are not lazy to rely on others. You have the karma law, sometimes you are the karma law.
The mystic romantic has a much tougher penalties for crime, drugs, robbery, assault, alcohol, etc. One wants to lower the age limit for being punished for crimes from 18 to 10 or 15. Children and young people are smarter much earlier than the law thinks. You should only be able to become an authority by being tested, because many are not mature despite their age.
Old mystic romantic rules become laws when the over and over has been won with the big white light, and it has been approved by the big white light. It's just to accept the new laws.
There is a symbol that a mystic romantic can carry, which means that the person must always speak truth, and it is forbidden to say, "I do not know," and therefore must always know the very best, regardless of other people's opinions. It is only with this dangerous symbol, dangerous because the person's opinions must always be correct. It can even mean to ordering someone to jump from a high bridge, so-called cadaver discipline.
Those who dislike and who oppose the mystic romantic will never have empathy, and can sometimes expect to be beaten down, punished, for the dislike. It's just to accept. Non-mystic romantic is less important than a mystic romantic. But it is only a mystic romantic person who can decide if a penalty is needed. So it is not always. Any building that are not mystic romantic are at risk of being demolished and transformed into mystic romantic.
When you move to a place where none of the inhabitants understand the esoteric, do not understand modern technology, modern culture, modern philosophy, and they only refer to old traditional Christianity, it's about young people. They are all garbage when you either can talk or talk reason to them because they're all equally retarded.
Those who are high-ranking do not deserve more value than one of your neighbors. Only one class. Where does the bar go for the class then? And you don't need to believe at all in what the rulers say. Do you really want to let someone else to decide how you should think when you can think for yourself? And as a mystic romantic, you do not have anyone over you at all.
You are expected to rest well after a stressful job, so you can do things more effective and cope with stress more. You are not expected to drive more than you can, because you are expected to be able to do things for a very long time. You are not expected to be lazy, but don't tear yourself away either. Careful/spotty. Quality over quantity. You don't live just one time. Reincarnation refers to the fact that, after your physical death, you are reborn somewhere after a stay in the non-physical dimension, not necessarily reborn to the same skin color. So skin color does not actually matter. You leave and return to something you want to have quality.
You need to avoid the ordinary food culture, so-called the pork sauce and potato model with strong beer every day. And those slow-minded ordinary people use alcohol as a gateway to the adult world. Mystic Romantic says, break the norm by sitting outdoors instead. Focus on fish, more salad, red lentils, beans and herb. More fruit, vegetables, berries, salad, cheese, olives, coarse grain bread that has garlic butter in itself. Prefer homemade so you can avoid added sugar, salt, excess fat, and chemicals. The healthy tasty model is valued finer and to have a much greater extent of imported cultures from more places. Thanks to esoteric, you do not belong to any specific culture or nation, you belong to very many instead.
You need to avoid being a simple ordinary person. When studying ordinary movies, you see that it reflects personalities. It means that an ordinary person is just action, or only horror, or only funny, or only serious, or only drama. Mystic Romantic has in common with anime, to have multiple ways of being. Almost all genres occur every time you find something new. Horror, humor, action, grief, romance, mystical, serious, drama, and lots of excitement with an intricate storyline, edged by morality and righteous behavior, in principle, all anime series. So, when you compare a simple ordinary person who have only one mindset to be in, and compares that with anime, a mystic romantic person, the anime and the mystic romantic person can seem more open, more developed and advanced.
Because the architect grew up in a place where crime was lower and not as well developed, several of the destructive principles are missing within the mystic romantic, which even seem too much bizarre to the mystic romantic, therefore cannot exist within the mystic romantic. It was even so that by 1930 and up to 1950, people did not even have to lock the front doors. A night owl is a teenager who plays SNES or PC games a little later into the night. Gang is the slang for a regular group of friends.
Instead of explaining who this is aimed at, instead I will describe possibly to whom this can be aimed to. If heavy metal and gothic started to exist in the 2000s, then the mystic romantic took over in 2006 like a further development of metal and gothic, and just continued right into the unknown. So, disco techno rave has never been able to be popular, and it can be a bit difficult to get into hip hop as well.
Common interests are literature, movies, series, anime, and PC games, focusing on supernatural, horror, mystery, spirituality, action, humor, detective story, sometimes even sorrow, fantasy and sci-fi. When it is your own creation in this, storyline and world creation is what have the focus. When you write the stories on a computer, you use fax books and the internet to source information. It is important that you can list a lot movies, series, PC games, and anime series, preferably with Nico ladies, girls.
Optimistic fashion style with music, where it is not unfamiliar with heavy metal, industrial, dark ambient, cultural music, African jazz boogie beats, orchestra elements, experimental. Sometimes a little Enya, Medwin Goodall, Sarah Brightman, and Lorena McKennett. But it is mainly individual group albums and your own creation in music. When you create music on a computer.
In the mystic romantic fashion, when you sometimes can sew your own clothes if needed. It is important that it is visible on you that metal and goth are not foreign to you, like long coats, high boots, long hair, etc. Relevant is the mystic romantic fashion that is not square and is considered to be the best style, superior to all other styles.
You have also artistic makings, architecture, bake cooking, animals, nature, philosophy, ideology, within esoteric spirituality, and there are probably more.
It is expected of you that you have an esoteric wisdom on how the spiritual part works, and are not afraid of sushi and vegetarian food.
Properties that are highly appreciated, as a mystic romantic is expected to have, are curiosity instead of negative, creative fantasies instead of destructive. You care about your own interests. You see the beauty in things, mostly the nature, so you don't want to destroy everything. You talk to yourself and thinks how thought affects. You don't get angry if you have wrong sometimes.
Principles like sin.
You stand for your opinion. Death sins and other rules are made for people who can't control themselves, and then a lot of destructive pessimism grows in them. Avoid that destructive pessimism and hostility.
When you are looking at perfumes, look for scents that are found in nature, like different flower fragrances, instead of chemical scents, to be inspired by the astral world. Just like in anime, a certain romantic touch is found in the mystic romantic clothing style, as extra wide skirts with a underskirt, and corsets with lines under the breast part, and lace lines, so the stomach and breast part differs from the rest. Better ladies have cat ears, kitty cat ladies are extra fancy. Where is the kitty cat dudes who is like a Casanova among the ladies? From this angle, you can get a lots of varieties.
Be funny and have fun.
Okie dokie.